And we're kicking off today with NXT, as on last week's episode, Bron Breakker made it clear that he'll face anyone, and even issued a challenge to World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. In his segment, Breakker acknowledged that Rollins was the first NXT champion, and has been touted as a fighting champion, and now Seth has responded to the challenge. This week on NXT, Bron Breakker came out to throw some shade on Rollins, wondering how the workhorse champion was, but was interrupted by Ilya Dragunov. Dragunov tried to get his hands on Breakker, who attacked him last week, but was blocked by security, and then Rollins himself appeared on the screen. While Rollins didn't agree with just demanding a title match, he did say it would be kinda nice to go back to where it all started, and accepted Breakker's challenge for a match. Breakker vs. Rollins will be a huge match for next week's Gold Rush edition of NXT, and are you excited to see Breakker get a shot at the gold? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Rollins will be just the latest name from the main roster to make his presence felt in NXT, an idea that has been in practice since 2021. Since then, names like AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, and most recently Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin have appeared for the Gold brand, and there was more main roster influence this week. During NXT, Scripps and Axiom faced Dabba-Kato, and in a very rare occurrence, the two smaller wrestlers used their numbers advantage and defeated their much larger opponent. Their victory was short-lived though, as after the match, the pair were ambushed by Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, re-establishing Los Lotharios as heels in the Gold brand. In a backstage interview, the duo spoke about the NXT Tag Team division and said that none of the Gold brand teams are on their level, and it appears that the pair will be appearing on future episodes. Returns to NXT were able to do wonders for the careers of Mandy Rose, Finn Balor, and others, and will Angel and Humberto be next on the list? Only time will tell. Since 2005, winners of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match have been able to challenge for a world championship, and it was only last year that someone broke this rule. When Austin Theory realized he had no hope of dethroning Roman Reigns, he instead challenged for the US title, but came up short against the then champion Seth Rollins. During this week's Raw, it was subtly mentioned on commentary that the holder of the briefcase can now challenge for the title of their choosing, meaning the US and Intercontinental titles are also up for grabs. With this rule, it'll be interesting to see what this means for the women's Money in the Bank briefcase, and whether the holder of that contract will be able to challenge for a men's title if she so desires. Ironically, the Theory rule could come back to haunt Austin Theory, who now holds the US title, and it'll certainly be interesting to see what titles are challenged for after Money in the Bank. Raw news now, as this week's show saw the Red brand continue to build towards Money in the Bank, with multiple matches being confirmed for the July 1st show. WWE Raw also featured Rhea Ripley be presented with a new Women's World Championship and other highlights, but it's an ad break that has fans talking. During the commercial break, an advert promoting AEW Collision aired, highlighting the upcoming show as the best wrestling in the world during the Raw commercial break. Whether AEW Collision provides the best wrestling in the world, time will tell, but we imagine Vince McMahon was far from thrilled with this ad during his flagship show. AEW Collision will be the third weekly TV show from the company, following on from Dynamite and Rampage, but there's a lot of questions about how the show will work. With reports that Dynamite and Collision will have something of a roster split, many have asked how championships will be defended in this new era, and we now have an answer. While speaking with Brandon Walker on Barstool Wrestling, Tony Khan was asked about the possibility of championships being locked to one brand or another, and he said, "I'm going to feature certain talents on certain shows, but I haven't drawn any hard lines or locked us into any kind of split of a roster. I think people are going to be featured on certain shows, but I also think that gives us a great opportunity to showcase certain wrestlers on both Dynamite and Collision at certain times, and certain stories that can cross the shows. I think the champions of AEW will be the champions on every show, and frankly, every promotion in the world. We're not shy about the AEW wrestlers going out and taking on the top stars, top competition from other companies." While some had speculated that Collision could be getting its own belts, that won't happen, and given that AEW, ROH, and titles from other promotions are already defended, not adding new gold is probably for the best. A lot is riding on AEW Collision being a success, but we won't know whether it will be just yet, but at least we know what the future holds for the champions of All Elite Wrestling. We've got news from Raka Khan now, as the former Impact Wrestling star has had more than her share of legal problems in recent years. In 2018, Khan was on El Paso's most wanted list due to interference with child custody and being an aggravated kidnapping facilitate, and now a lawsuit by her has been dismissed. On June 12th, Judge Laura Taylor Swain of the United States District Court dismissed the ridiculous lawsuit by Khan, which sought over $3 billion from multiple parties. Some of the names listed in the suit included The Rock, Nikki Bella, Home Depot, Billy Corgan, Mick Foley, Michael Jordan, the FBI, The Miz, and Maurice, and Chris Benoit, to name just a few. In the filing, Judge Swain noted that Khan had filed action against approximately 1,000 individuals and alleged that they all teamed together to remove her children while she was arrested. Judge Swain argued that there was no merit or evidence to this preposterous claim, and now Khan will have to be dealing with her own legal issues and the ramifications of this frivolous lawsuit. In just a few weeks, AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling will come together for the second annual Forbidden Door show, featuring the very best of the best from both promotions. One name fans can expect to see on the show is Sanada, who is the reigning IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, but the big question is, who will he face? On the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, it was pointed out that during the cross-promotional All Together Again, NJPW's commentary team mentioned that Sanada's presence will be felt on this week's Dynamite. The commentators not only teased that Sanada will appear on the show in some format, but also that his match and opponent for Forbidden Door will be confirmed on tonight's show. While some have predicted the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion facing AEW's World Champion MJF, the Salt of the Earth has made it clear he's not interested in Forbidden Door. And who do you hope Sanada faces when the two companies collide in Toronto? Last year, WWE superstars Mace and Mansoor were repackaged as the Maximum Male Models, a pair of flamboyant fashion supermodels managed by Maxine Dupree. As we've seen in recent weeks, Dupree has left her clients to align with Otis and Chad Gable in Alpha Academy, but what does this mean for the remaining two-thirds of the Maximum Male Models? Fightful Select reports that the pair are expected to be going through a repackaging, though it isn't clear what exactly will be changed about the tag team. The report also stated that while Vince McMahon liked MMM, he didn't want them to be flamboyant and has made changes to their booking since his return to WWE. Triple H encouraged the duo to be flamboyant when he was fully in charge of WWE's creative, but given that his father-in-law can overrule him, this explains why the models have vanished from TV. Once again, WWE's executive chairman and the head of talent and creative are disagreeing over how superstars should be presented. And what do you think should be next for Mace and Mansoor? And we're ending today with Gable Steveson, who is yet to compete for WWE, but already has his sights set on the biggest challenge the company could offer. Recently, Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns appeared in a commercial promoting NBC's coverage of the 2024 Olympics in Paris, which unsurprisingly caught the attention of WWE's second gold medalist. In the commercial, Heyman claims that Reigns will defend his title anytime against anyone, which prompted Steveson to throw out the challenge in the comments to the Tribal Chief. Given that Steveson is teased competing in the Paris 2024 Summer Games, it may be a good while yet before he wrestles for WWE, but is a match with Reigns something you'd like to see?